Kick it off, ladies and gentlemen. It is Wednesday. It is 11:11. I think we might be a few minutes behind 11:11, but we are very excited. Mr. Brandon Bateman from Bateman Collective is with us, and we are going to be getting, by popular demand, by popular request, we're talking PPC and SEO. I'm here to let you know, we've been in this real estate game. I literally started real estate in 2005. I was just a young, hungry guy driving for dollars and doing direct mail. I used to get lists from I don't even know, data sources, and I used to handwrite mailings and stuff like that. That was the way I got started in real estate, and I've done it all. Me and RJ, we've handwritten mailers, we've stuffed envelopes, we've done it all. And we've done bandit signs. I mean, God knows, we've done all of this offline marketing throughout our career, and we still do a little offline marketing. Some very strategic, sniper-esque direct mail is not going to hurt anybody. But today, where our business is at, and RJ can fill us in on this a little bit more, but the majority of our leads, the majority of our deals are coming from PPC, from SEO, from online, not offline marketing. And Brandon is an expert on online marketing. So that's what we're getting in here today. How we feeling, RJ?
The vibe's alive. We've actually met Brandon in a mastermind, gave an amazing presentation about, how to scale SEO and PPC. And so today, ladies and gents, you want to take your, make sure you got something to write stuff down with, take notes, because we're going to extract a ton of what is working right now. Not what worked back then or 2 years ago, 3 years ago, what's working right now when you're going to do SEO and PPC marketing. And that's what they do at Bateman Collective. You're going to have a link here. And not yet. I want you guys to stay on here and because we're going to get right into some questions about how to do this correctly. And so I'm excited to have Brandon on. It's good to see you again, Brandon. It's been a while. Lots has changed. You got earlier before the call, we hear the babies in the background. So, we got growing families. So and I know you guys don't have a lot of time, so we're going to get right into the meat and potatoes of this. As you guys know, we like to bring a ton of value because that's what we hear. So we did recently we did a poll in our, following. And the number one thing is always like, how can I get more leads, motivated sellers? I've tried this technique. I tried the driving for dollars. I've tried the cold calling. I've tried this text messaging stuff and it's not working. How can I maximize this thing? I heard about the PPC, I heard about them being really, really motivated. And so we are going to really kind of pull the curtains back and talk to the man, the myth, the legend, Brandon Bateman with Bateman Collective, and give us the sauce, man. That's what they want here. And then you're going to get the link to something special. She's got a special gift. So stay until the very end. And then we're also going to do some Q&A so you guys can ask some questions as well. So here we are.
I got a question first off. So where's the number one PPC? Google? Is Google the player here? This is what we're mostly, do they dominate the space, Brandon?
Yeah, good question. They absolutely do. If you looked, so PPC means different things to different people. What it actually means, the acronym means pay per click marketing, right? Sometimes people are looping into that things like Facebook ads, which depending on who you are, it's in there or it's not. But what we generally find is in this industry, the number one PPC channel is Google. After that, you could put Facebook and Bing, depending on if you consider Facebook a PPC channel. And Microsoft Bing does more than a lot of people realize. It does have some share of the market, especially people who just don't update their default browser settings on Windows computers and end up using Bing sort of on accident, sometimes even thinking it's Google. So there's some market share there, but far and away the largest channel where most people are searching is Google. They almost have a monopoly on that market.
So what are the others, just for reference? Bing?
Yeah, really just Bing. And when I say Bing, it dates me slightly because they call it now Microsoft advertising. It's kind of a collection of other search engines. You've got Bing, DuckDuckGo, Yahoo, all those kind of fall under the Microsoft umbrella. And there's you can market on those. What we find is let's just say you're coming to me and you're saying, I want to, I want to do marketing in Columbus and I want to do it on Bing. You're not going to be able to spend very much money. Well, you will find on Bing, though, is less competitive than Google and the ROI can be good, but you're going to be pretty capped on what you can do versus Google's going to be a lot more scalable of a channel. So that's where I think Google and Bing are both relevant, but we're saying 85% of what's out there is on Google.
So someone comes to you and they're ready to get started. Did you have something, RJ? You look like you were pondering.
Well, there's Bing, and then it's like, are people still using Yahoo, or is that not a thing anymore?
It is, and it falls under that Microsoft advertising umbrella.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
Yeah, there's the main ones are Bing, Yahoo, DuckDuckGo. There's of course tons of like tiny search engines that you probably never heard of that fall under these umbrellas. But yeah, at the end of the day, Google is the really big one. And what's interesting about search marketing compared to a lot of this other stuff that you guys were talking about is all these other channels, like when you're doing this direct mail, you're doing this cold call, whatever it is, you're sort of using information about people to try to identify that they might be a motivated seller. When you're doing online marketing through PPC or through SEO, it's really different because you don't know a lot of that stuff that you did know about them. But what you do know is what they typed into a search bar, which is a different level of targeting. It tells you intent. And that's why PPC has this reputation for these leads that are more motivated than others, because just because someone's facing foreclosure or their house is in probate, like we don't know that person's motivated, right? But if they search, if they're actively looking, what are the chances that they're motivated? And if they are motivated, what are the chances that they're looking to make a decision soon? Well, you don't search for no reason. So it's interesting because it's a completely different perspective on how you target. And it gets you sort of a different kind of lead than you're getting with other channels. And that's where a lot of people, that's why these online channels become pretty popular for real estate investors is, on average, you're going to be talking to more people that actually are interested in talking to you because they're coming to you, not you going to them.
So you focus in heavy on the keywords, right? I mean, you study keywords like crazy. Is that safe to assume?
Yeah, I would say that's that's a lot of the targeting with these channels. And there's actually a lot of other stuff that people don't realize, but keywords are really important, right? Because if somebody searches, like, for example, if they were to search how to sell my house without a realtor versus if they were to search we buy ugly houses or we buy houses or sell my house fast, you're talking about a different kind of person. And you can tell that just based on what they're searching. And the reality is there's thousands of potential things that they could be searching, maybe even hundreds of thousands. So that's a big part of finding the right kind of lead quality. It's one of the biggest things that we see is wrong when people aren't having success with PPC is they might be getting the wrong kind of traffic in there to begin with. They're not showing up in front of the right types of search queries. But keywords are really important. And then the other thing that's important, I kind of think of it like this. So it's pay-per-click marketing, right? Yeah. That's simple. Let's just compare pay-per-click marketing to what you guys do, right? Let's just say you're wholesaling. So if you're wholesaling, you might get a lead, you might look at the house, and then that house, you might look, if you want to know what kind of price you can pay for that house, you're probably looking at, well, where is it? How many square feet is it? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? What's the condition of the house? Like there's all these different things that sort of make up the value of the house. And then because the game for you isn't that you want to buy houses that are like really valuable or that you want to buy houses for cheap. What you want is to buy houses at a discount, right? You want some percentage off of the ARV of the house minus repairs, right? And that's how you make your money. PPC is ultimately pretty similar. So the way it works, the whole system is based on something called real-time bidding. Real-time bidding is the idea that auctions are happening and they're just happening on like an ongoing basis every single second in milliseconds. Like if you were to go to Google and you search right now, sell my house fast, and then you click enter and you see the results, what you don't realize is that in the milliseconds after you search that and before you saw the results, there was an auction that happened in the background between all these different computers where they all bid, they're all saying what they're willing to pay for the click. And then whoever was willing to pay the most is showing up at the top, the second most is showing up a little bit lower, et cetera. So just like you can look at a house and you can say, well, it's 3,000 square feet and it's in this zip code and it has 2 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, or whatever it is that you're looking at that tells you it's valuable. In PPC, there's going to be things like the keyword, like what did they search? There's also going to be things like what's their typical browsing history? Did they visit uhaul.com yesterday? Like these are all like data points that are used predicting sort of what the value of that click is, and then you're bidding towards a discount on that click. So it works similar. It's like real time.
happens so fast. Like, I don't
Yeah.
look, this
We
is
need to
all
be, yeah, bro. We need to freaking. So here's the deal, guys. There's two things we can do in this life. We can complain how Big Brother is gathering all of our information and completely controlling the universe, and we're all this. That's like this victim negative approach, right? Like we know people like that. RJ, I'm not going to say his name, but like, so I used to actually kind of fall down this rabbit hole too of this like conspiracies and Federal Reserve, and you get all into this. I'm telling you, that is not the vibe to make money. So now when I hear these things, instead of being like, oh my God, oh, it's this crazy world, we can make so much money by understanding and working with geniuses like Brandon Bateman. Guys, do you guys realize this? Real estate is the vehicle. We got to work with really smart people who understand the internet. This is where everybody's at. Everybody's got a damn smartphone in their hand. Okay. So how do we, are we going to complain that the smartphone is tracking us and I turn my GPS off because I don't want them to know where I'm at? Like anyone cares where you're at, bro. Like, really, people care? So with that being said, let's make
the internet is not going anywhere, guys.
No.
You know what is though? Regulations on how you can market that is, related to the, cold calling and texting and all that intrusive stuff. And so guess who has, it doesn't. It's Google. Everyone's on Google. Everyone uses Google so fast now. There's AI and all this stuff going on now. So you gotta come with the times. This is why we're heavily doing inbound marketing. It's a whole totally different, not dealing with people that are like, well, how'd you call me? Why'd you even get my number? I don't want to talk to you. That's hard. That's a hard life.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are making great points. I mean,
super inefficient.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, there's a reason Google and Facebook are both sort of unprecedented advertising unicorns. And what basically happened is these were the first companies to gather all this data on users and to realize that data is actually very predictive of someone's behavior. If you think about like a direct response type of marketing, that's really what it comes down to is, can I predict the behavior of this person and what's going to be predictive of that? And then can I put the advertisement in front of the right person at the right time, right? Like you could send someone a postcard, you could cold call them, all that stuff. But like at the moment that they're searching on Google for a solution to their problem, that's when they really have a problem and they're really looking for a solution. And it's not that you're going to call them and be like, oh, well, maybe I want to sell in 90 days. Like something prompted that. They had some sort of pain that made them actually go and take action, which is a totally different type of lead.
Brandon, do you have any stats about like somebody that is our demographic, right? Our typical demographic. I think Dave and I last week, because we're documenting this whole how we found a lead and it came from PPC actually, and how we are going to like raise capital, all this stuff. It's going to be this case study. But do you have this like demographic, or you've done some research on this? Like, who is the typical person that is going to Google something about their house because they're in pain and search? Like, who is that? Like, you know what I mean?
Question. Yeah, and this is where it's kind of interesting, because I have conversations with people often where they're like, hey, Brandon, I want probate leads. I want pre-foreclosure leads. I want to target the people who are behind on their HOA fees, all this stuff. And it's with online marketing, you kind of have to change your perspective on it a little bit, because that traditional like pain point focused marketing is what you do in direct mail or what you do in cold call, but it's not what you do with online marketing. Because what I know in online marketing is that this person just searched for a way to sell their house fast. Now, what's the situation behind that that's causing them to search that? Well, it could be probate, it could be foreclosure, it could be bankruptcy, it could be that they're just looking for ease and convenience. We don't know, right? And it doesn't give us enough information to know that about them. So what you'll find about a lot of channels is you can target these specific drivers, but who is the person behind a PPC? Well, all you know is their intent.
Yeah.
It's intent-based marketing. You don't know why they have that intent. You just know they have this intent to sell their house. And do some people search how to sell my inherited house? Yes. But you know how many people who have an inherited house that just search how to sell my house? Tons.
A lot.
Right?
Yeah.
People don't put their entire life story into a Google search because they're just looking to take the action. So what we see, and to be clear, the lead quality varies a little bit. So I'll just break it
Totally.
down. Like what's normal? Like what are you usually going to get? And what we've done actually is tracked everything. Like what exactly did someone type into Google, and then what exactly was the disposition of that lead? Was it was it a contract? Was it a deal? Was it worth nothing? Was it spam? For over $100 million worth of wholesale assignment fees from PPC, we tracked all this stuff closed loop with all the data. So we actually have an insane database that tells us, based on all these different things. So we can even get down to like, based on different things that people are searching, how that affects the lead quality and stuff like that. And that's how we that's how we optimize. But if you're just make it really simple, you'd say if you get 15 PPC leads, probably you have 5 of them that are just spam. There's someone who doesn't actually have a house to sell. Maybe they want to buy a house, not interested, whatever, right? So you probably have 5 of those. So now you have 10 leads left. Of those 10 leads, and some of those 5 were people who don't answer the phone, right? You can call them 40 times, they're never going to answer the phone. So that's kind of like how we whittle down from 15 leads to 10. So now you have 10 left. These 10 are people. Sorry, are you going to say something, RJ?
Yeah, I just pulled up some interesting stats I want to share, but finish your thought. Finish your thought.
Yeah, so this is obviously simplifying a little bit, but like, yeah, 15 leads, 5 of them don't answer the phone, or they don't have a house to sell, or they're spam, or whatever the case is. You have 10 left. These are people who have houses to sell that you're able to speak to. Usually about 5 of those are going to get disqualified for being retail, maybe being in the wrong location, maybe it's already listed on the market, whatever the case is. And then there's going to be 5 left that are opportunities. And then of those 5 opportunities, you'd get 1 contract. That's like the standard, the average across all of our clients. And while some people have like we have all the percentiles for your leads per contract, like our top 10% of clients are at about 7 leads per contract. The bottom 10% are at like 22 leads per contract, right? So there's some range there, but that's sort of the bullseye of the target is about 15 leads per contract, meaning 10 real sellers, 5 opportunities.
Love that. That was a little tip, by the way, when you're tracking your PPC. But guess what? So according to this, I just typed in how many people are searching online to sell their house, right? And according to National Association of Realtors, nearly 97% of home buyers and sellers, which means like the majority of the people are looking the information on how to sell their house or how to buy their house or buy a house. They're doing so online first. They're searching on the internet first. It's crazy. So this traffic, I mean, there's got to be, it's millions of people. And so this is why it's like such you got to have this channel in your marketing. And I want to talk about that real quick. So if you're kind of like this new home buying company and you want to try PPC, give us you've been doing this a while. So what are the 3 or 5 things that you can just tell them, right? If they're thinking about getting into PPC, what do they need to be successful?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And there's multiple ways to get it done. One of the first things that you have to figure out is, are you going to hire an agency to help you do this or try to do it yourself? I probably shouldn't even say that that's something to figure out, because like 95% of people end up working with an agency. And I think it's right for 95% of people. But it is so, but if we're going to say like, you're going to go out and try to do this yourself, like the list moves from 3 things to like 100 things that you have to figure out. But the goal of working with an agency is you want to work with somebody who's already done this before and understands different nuances. Otherwise, you're going to pay what I call the beginner tax, which is all the money you pay because of all the stupid stuff you do because you don't know any better. And eventually you'll learn. But that's going to take a long time. And you don't have data. Like if you learn enough about PPC, you'll get to the point where you understand that data is really at the core of it. And whoever has the most data generally has the best results. And an agency is going to have the most data because they're going to work with a bunch of different companies in the same industry, assuming they're industry specific. I do not recommend working with just whatever random agency that works with, like, let's just say I'm in Columbus and there's this agency that has, a chiropractor in Columbus and an HVAC company in Columbus, and they're taking you on. Like, they don't know anything about your industry, right? They don't actually have any data. Could they be smart? Could they figure it out? Maybe, but somebody else who has all the data is going to get a lot farther, a lot faster, and they're not going to have to pay the idiot tax of not knowing what to do in your market. So that's the first thing, is you want to build the partner with that. And the good news about that is if you choose the right partner, then a lot of the things that you need to do to get PPC to work right then fall on their responsibilities, right? So then the list that you need to do is a little bit smaller. The things that you need to do, though, you have to give the campaign, I would say there's three things. Number one, give the campaign enough budget. Number two, give it enough time. And number three, you have to have the right lead management and acquisitions practices for these kinds of leads. So if I were to talk about this individually, I'd say for giving it enough budget, how much budget you need, it does depend on your market. A rule of thumb that a lot of people use is you want to spend enough to get a deal a month. You have some data coming in. And that would be kind of the minimum, right? So how much do you have to spend to get a deal a month? Well, a good way to start there is to say, well, what's the typical wholesale assignment fee in my market? Let's just say it's 20 grand. Maybe divide that by 4 or something like that, right? Assuming that a lot of people are going to target maybe a 4x return on their marketing. So if I'm doing $20,000 deal spreads, I might want to spend about 5 grand a month, just so I have at least enough budget to average 1 deal per month. And as you guys know, you've done tons of marketing channels. If you average 1 deal per month, it doesn't mean you get a deal like clockwork every month. No, it could mean you go 4 months with none, and then you get 5 deals on month 5, or whatever the case is, right? It varies. Right. It varies. But then you're not like, waiting 2 years to have your campaign be successful. And then you want to talk to somebody who's an expert on your market that understands, where the ceiling is. It's better to spend more, to an extent, but there's a point where you're just pushing too much budget into the market and you actually get a really strong diminished return because of that. And that's not a place that you want to be, because then it gets really expensive. So you have to figure that out. It's best to talk with an expert about that. The second component there is how much time you give it. And I would always recommend, and this I think is just a rule of marketing. It's not necessarily a rule of PPC marketing.
Yeah.
I'd say 6 months for a new channel. A lot of people want to say, like, give it 2 months, and if you have a deal, then keep on going, or something like that. I can tell you that we have clients that will lock up like multiple deals on their first day of ads. Like, yes, that happens sometimes. Is it normal? No, but it happens sometimes. And we have clients that could take 5 months to get their first deal. And long-term, those companies might be in the same position. It's very normal that sometimes it takes a little bit longer to ramp up. Sometimes it's quick. What it really comes down to is a smart marketer is going to look at all the data and they're going to make a bet on a strategy. And that bet's going to work or it's not going to work. And you need time to be able to spend the money, see that it didn't work, and then pivot, and then spend some money, see if it works, and then pivot. And you need time for a couple of those pivots. And you also need time for your cash conversion cycle to come around closed loop. I can't tell you how many clients we've had that are 3 months in and they want to quit their PPC campaign because their ROI is like less than 1x, but their projected ROI is like 5x because they just got just they haven't closed yet. Right?
You got to be patient. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
So what you just said is take your average deal size for wholesale. So let's just say it's $15K. You divide that by 4, so that gives you $3,750 as a budget, right? For spend on PPC, correct? And then you want to at least have a runway of time, which is 6 months. So you got to be able to invest in this. A typical scenario is $18,000 in this budget. And on top of that, you need to have a solid type process on how you're talking to that motivated seller. If you're willy-nilly, money's going to flow out the door.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit because I know you guys have experience running this. I also have experience, working with our clients and what we did here. So we wanted to dial in and understand like what makes the difference between companies that are closing these leads well and those that are closing the leads poorly. So what we did is we basically collect all the data on how many deals our clients are doing, and we use that to optimize their campaigns. The other benefit of that is we know the guy who's getting like a lot of closings from a certain number of leads and the guy who's getting like hardly any, right? So we took our top 10% of clients and we interviewed them, interviewed people from their team, et cetera, learned all about what they're doing. And then what we did is we built a list of principles where we saw like, these are the things that all of our best companies are doing. But then the other important factor is the things that none of our worst companies in our database were doing. So we try to look for the differentiator. What is it that the people who have success have in common that the people who are failing don't have in common? And it came down to 3 principles. Those principles are, first, urgency. When it comes to PPC leads, you have to assume someone's searching online, they just found you, and they're probably going to then search for the next company and the next company and the next company because they have this pain until you solve the problem, right?
Yeah.
So what's the difference? I'll just give an example, right? Let's just say someone reaches out to you and then they go reach out to one of your competitors. They talk to that competitor makes them feel warm and fuzzy inside. They like them. They want to do business with them. And then you call and they talk to you. And in their heart, they already know that they want to work with this other company. What is your sales guy going to say about that lead? Well, they didn't answer the phone at first. They didn't seem like that motivated. They didn't seem that interested. Or maybe I never got a hold of them. It's probably not a good lead. Meanwhile, in a different scenario, let's just say you called them immediately. Well, now they didn't even get to your competitor. And now you're talking to them, you give them the warm fuzzies, and they're never even going to talk to somebody else. Right. And then what's the situation they're going to be? Well, we're the only person on the deal. They seemed really motivated. They acted like they trust me. Right. And it seems like a really good lead. And the interesting thing there is like the difference is when you called and the lead's the same, but your perception of the quality of the lead is different. So it really, really matters how quickly you get to these leads. And let's just say it's a direct mail lead. Like, is it always better to be faster? Yes. But the shelf life is a little longer on that lead.
Yeah.
Compared to PPC, it's a short shelf life. Like that lead after 60 seconds is now less valuable than it was right away. And then after 5 minutes, it's now even less valuable than it was at 60 seconds. Right. It's just declining value. So that's why urgency is really important.
Well, listen real quick. I have a small amount of sympathy for guys like you, Brandon.
Thank you.
In the lead gen, I'm saying in lead gen, because you can be a badass marketer, you can be amazing at lead gen, but if the person on the other end of the phone, if your client can't convert, that's on them. You need to be a strong closer in any business, right? A car company can have the best ads and it can look so cool, but if the car salesman can't get somebody to buy the damn car, if somebody can't get somebody to sign the dotted line, press hard, last copy's yours, let's get you out the door. You got to be able to close. So I'm telling you, focus on your closing skills too, real estate investor friends out there. It's up to you. A lot of these marketers, Brandon does a phenomenal job. He's going to get the phone to ring. You got to get your ass on the phone. Listen, what does RJ say all the time? You got to get to the lead immediately. No lead left behind. Follow up. You know how many deals we get from like hammering these people? What is it? 21 points of contact within the first week, or RJ?
You gotta hammer them down.
You gotta hammer, guys.
It's phone, text, email, morning.
And I guarantee you have leads that after like their 40th touch is when they finally respond and you lock them up. That's what I hear from all of our clients that are really great at that. And it's just so easy for you to say like the person didn't answer the phone. I called them 20 times already. It must not be a good lead. And
it's not.
If you believe that and you act that way, it will be true for you, right? Meanwhile, Dave and RJ are going to eat your lunch because they don't get
guys.
Baby.
We're not the only house buyer in town.
Nope.
You are not the only house buyer in town. So it's speed of urgency. What are the 2 other things that you wanted to share?
Yeah. So that's the first one. And that's a lot of people know that about PPC. The second one is assume motivation.
Yeah.
And what assume motivation means is if you take like a cold call lead, for example, the mindset of the salesperson is going to be, I assume that this lead is not motivated until I have enough information to tell me that this lead is motivated. The mindset that you have to have with PPC is, I assume this lead is motivated until I have enough information to prove that this lead is not motivated. And it's totally different, right? So that means like that person that you talk to on the phone and they're like, don't even come out unless you're going to offer me 300,000 and you know you can only offer 220, you go in that appointment. Because what you'll find, like typically people will qualify leads based on like a common methodology would be the 4 pillars of motivation, right? If you're familiar with that. And they just say like they have to have like these different characteristics to be a qualified lead. With PPC, you kind of have to say like the fact that they're inbound and they reached out to me, that's a sign of motivation. They want a crazy high price. Who cares? They say they don't care how fast they need to sell. Who cares, right? They say the house is in good condition. Like who cares? These are all things that you kind of have to look past with PPC specifically. And if you do that with cold call, what you'll find is you'll just waste your time all day with these leads. If you do that with PPC, I had a client that started PPC in a big competitive market. They spent 10 grand a month for 4 months in a row.
Yeah.
They got 0 deals from it. They spent 40 grand and got 0 deals on PPC. So we're looking into it. We're trying to figure out like what's going on. Well, it turns out their acquisitions team is qualifying appointments based on 2 pillars of motivation. And with their cold call, this company, by the way, they're not a company that doesn't know how to close. They're doing at this point almost $500,000 a month in revenue from cold calling. So they're looking at this like, well, PPC is not working for us. The lead quality might not be right, because the reality is like, we know what we're doing. We have a 10x return on cold calling. We're doing almost $500,000 a month in revenue from cold calling, yet we're not closing deals from PPC. So we made one primary change, and that change was how they qualify their PPC appointments. And what they found is with cold call, they had to have 2 pillars and they would close appointments at a 25% rate. With PPC, we said 0 pillars. Just on every appointment you possibly can. And guess what their appointment to contract rate was? 25%.
25%. Okay.
They removed all qualification and they still closed at 25%. The next 4 months, they did 17 deals from another 40 grand in spend at a 10x return on PPC.
So it proves that it is your process, right? There's it's a different process than you would have if it was cold calling. Obviously, it's common sense. But it also like you need to have a process. You can't like just kind of show up and so if you're getting started and you're really new, you got to lean on either who are you learning from this strategy and look at their practice your sales before you get into this, because if you do not have a process, money is flying out the door.
100%.
Right? Like, so again, like if you're new, get with your this is the stuff that we talk about in our mentorship. 100%. It's like we have to get your mindset right, your sales process right, how you can talk to motivated sellers, how to turn you into this like fearful person that can't get on the phone to this problem solver.
Yeah.
When you come from that standpoint of how can I solve a problem and then ask better questions, it's gonna be fine, right? You're gonna be able to talk to somebody as long as you can just connect with somebody over the phone and try to solve their problem. If you have that mind, then not like, oh, I got to get a good deal and get a good discount. You're gonna come across as like needy instead. And guys, if you want some calls, like Dave right now is doing a lot of call recordings with motivated sellers. Get on our YouTube channel and listen to them. And if you're interested in getting on our program, just book a call with us. We'll share this. But this is the key thing, especially if you're brand new and you're getting started or you want to increase conversions, is you have to have a solid process or money is flying out the door. You guys know who you are out there. Oh, I've spent 40K or 30K or 20K and it's not working. Or
it is working.
It is. Yeah.
The leads are there. You're not working it. It works if you work it. You got to have a little confidence. Yeah. Go ahead, RJ. I'm all excited over here. I'm like, my skin starts to get itchy when we start talking about closing sellers over here.
I'm telling you, this by far has increased our efficiency. And we're at like we're 1 in 15 right now, meaning 15 conversations we're getting a contract with PPC. I think that's pretty good. There's guys out there probably with better conversions, but look, y'all, we got a small team. We're very profitable with our small team. You don't need to have this whole like conglomerate of people doing this for you, just so you know. But anyways, I'm going to digress and go back into the number 3 things. So we got urgency, we got assume motivation. What is the third thing you want to share with us?
The third thing is quality first impressions. So the way this works, probably the easiest way I could explain this is imagine you're taking every single thing that happens in your business and you're putting $1 per hour value on it, right? Everything from like, how much is it worth for us to talk to the IRS, to run payroll? How much is it worth to have those acquisitions conversations? How much is it worth for lead management? Like all these things, like what's the value of those things? Imagine you did that and you put them in order from most valuable all the way to least valuable activities, meaning most correlated with like more revenue and more profits, all the way down to it's got to get done, but it's not that important, right? At the top of that list, pretty dang close to the top of that list, you're going to have talking to a motivated seller lead that just came in the door.
For sure.
That's going to be really important, right? Because what people miss is they say like, I just walked out of the seller's house with a contract in my hand and I just won this contract. But what they don't realize is what usually happens is I actually won that contract on the phone with them 3 days ago when I made the right first impression. And maybe they didn't sign the contract until right now, but they decided in their heart that they wanted to sell their house to me 3 days ago. And this was just me collecting on that, right? So my point here is first impressions with leads are really important. It's a very high dollar per hour value activity. And what you'll find is that a lot of people would pay their janitor literally more money than they would pay the person who's having those first impressions with their sellers. They view lead management as like this job of like, I'm just filtering through the leads. So what they have is they have like their, they have their leads going to VAs. And then they want the closers to be just on, just in the appointments and closing. And I'm not like pro lead manager or anti lead manager. What we notice across our clients is that those that had pretty qualified people who were able to have initial conversations with sellers, they found that they could do significantly better at closing than those that had kind of like a filtering system set up in the beginning. Because remember, you have to assume with PPC leads that they're all motivated and they're all good. Will you always be right? No. But if you're always looking at it like there's a 90% chance that this lead is garbage, then when there's the good one, you're going to miss it and you're not going to treat them the right way. And when you have a company based on inbound marketing, you have to kind of treat every lead like it's gold. You're not looking for a needle in a haystack. You're like looking at a piece of hay and just really believing that it's a needle, right? And enough like it becomes a needle, right? That's a dumb analogy, but that's sort of how it works. So the tangible thing that we found here is that like the quality of the person who first talks to the seller is important. And for many of our clients, they'll find that they'll close as many as 40% of their PPC leads on the first phone call if they have the right person who's qualified to do that on the phone. And if you don't, then these leads, again, the concept of urgencies goes beyond just how quickly you first get to the lead. It goes to everything else. Like we hear stories from our clients all the time where like they talk to the seller says, let me, they say, yeah, you can come by Thursday. They go by Thursday and the seller already sold their house. Right? Oof. It happens all the time because they're so urgent, right? So that's where the idea is like, if you have the ability to get deep into their motivation and everything as quickly as possible, and you have the qualified people who are able to call the seller immediately and do that, then you could scoop up those deals before your competition does.
So do not put your new hires, all right, your new hires on PPC leads, y'all, right? Have your new hires work on deals that are leads that are already in the system. They're following up. That's what I'm hearing. Make sure your top closer is handling these highly motivated people, because the top closer can quickly get to that connection, quickly analyze the deal, get them what they want, solve their problem.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it. And yeah, a lot of people, what they do is they have like that's how, if you think about it, how do you build a growth plan for a salesperson? Yeah. Well, a lot of times what it's going to look like is that they unlock better quality leads the better they get. Because what does this newer salesperson need? They need reps. What's the cheapest way to get the cheapest leads? you want them to like be making their mistakes on a $400 PPC lead? Probably not, right? Like that's going to be really expensive. That's an expensive rep. And we all have to make mistakes to learn. But those are expensive mistakes versus if you're making the same mistakes on cold call leads, it's a lot less expensive to the company. So I would say I totally agree with what you said. And the other aspect there is that you just need like a lead management system that's built on the idea of quality talent, not just like filtering. A lot of people who have this like filtering system, it's built that way based on the other channels like cold call, where they need to weed through these 80 leads to find the good ones per contract. So you can't afford to go deep with every lead. And this is a little different.
Is this all put together in like some toolkit that you have, Brandon?
Yeah,
I'm gonna put that in here. So for you guys listening, Brandon put together this like amazing kit, like toolkit. It's calling it the BrandonBatemanCollective.com/toolkit. Did I spell that right?
Yeah, it's just
So
BatemanCollective.com/toolkit. And
okay.
this toolkit, to tease a little bit about what's in here, it includes the a whole course that goes through these different things that I just explained in greater depth with examples and all that kind of stuff. It also includes more than 8 hours of content showing exactly how we set up ads, how we run them, what do we do that makes it so our clients get better performance than they did prior, and all those things. So for a lot of people like the toolkit, specifically if they're still kind of interested in doing it themselves. This is basically to be just really straightforward with you, RJ and Dave, on like why this toolkit exists. This is basically us peeling back the curtain into like, this is everything that we do, just so everybody in the world knows. Only because we know by the time you actually look at it, you'll realize that you don't want to do it and you'll just hire us instead.
Straight up.
But it's all there. Like you could take, like we include some of our SOPs in there, processes for managing bids.
That's so very kind of you, man. I'm telling you, like, if you want to do it yourself, because we got a lot of do-it-yourselfers, you can. Or you can hit the easy button, hire somebody that's got years of experience and work with Brandon and his team. Now, remember, you got to have a budget. So I don't recommend this to somebody who's just trying to shoestring this, meaning, oh, I'm gonna do this and try to cheat my way into getting my first deal. Now you could do that. Okay, I understand. I'm not saying it's wrong to do that, but it's just going to take you a little bit more time. It's going to take a lot of hustle and grind. If you want motivated leads coming to you and you can close them, like right now we're in 15 conversations to one contract.
Yeah.
That's going to probably net us around, 15 to 17K, because that's our average spread.
Yeah, I think the reality, RJ and Dave, is that it's the landscape is changing. Like, let's just say somebody's getting into this real estate investing world. If you had asked me a year ago, what should they do if their whole goal is like, I just want to get my first deal or something like that, what I would tell them is like, honestly, probably cold call or something like that. It's going to be the cheapest way to get a deal. Probably has the highest return on investment. Is it a pain in the butt? Yes. Does it produce brain damage? Yes. But it's probably the cheapest way to hustle to get where you want to go. The crazy thing is, we recently did an industry report where what we did is we took real estate investors across the whole country, and we had them give us all the data in their business, everything down to like their net margin, every marketing channel they have, how much they're spending on it, what they're getting from it, different exit strategies and what their spreads look like, everything. So we gathered all that data from our clients and from other people in the industry. And what we learned from that is what the typical cost per deal is across different channels and return on investment. And what's crazy is cold call is historically low. And it's actually lower than inbound channels right now. So it used to be that like the way to get started was you do the channel that has brain damage but has a lower cost per deal. And now it's like, well, that channel has brain damage and it has the same cost per deal. But what's really happened in the industry is it's genuinely just harder for beginners because all the marketing channels are just more expensive. And so anyways, I wouldn't have recommended this to a beginner a year ago, but with like other options degrading in terms of how good they are, really inbound marketing channels are something I would consider out of the gate. But the difficulty of that is just the same as it was even a year or 2 years ago, which is that inbound marketing channels take a consistent budget, and take a lot of money. Now, the pro with that is if you had 15 leads to go through instead of 80 to find a deal, are you going to like ultimately be a lot more efficient? Can you ultimately close a lot more deals with a smaller team? All those things. Yes, absolutely. But it's also expensive and it's a hard place to get started. So I feel for, like, I honestly think a lot of people who are in this industry today got in a time where it was easier.
Oh man, we lost Brandon. You still there? Oof.
Hello?
I think he got frozen.
Well, here's the deal, everybody. Here's the deal. If you're going to do PPC, which we actually highly recommend because it's our #1 deal source, you got to go online. This really works. It's really good. You got to have a pro do it for you. If you're going to try to figure out Google AdWords and try to do this yourself, you're going to spend and waste a lot of money in learning to do it. We brought on Brandon because the guy's a pro. You got to pay to play. Get his toolkit. You're going to see he knows what he's talking about. And that's going to be a Bateman Collective, right? That's his website, /toolkit. But work with a pro. I mean, the guy knows what he's doing. You got to work with somebody who you got to pay to play. You got to work. If you have a marketing budget and you're serious about this business, there's no better way to get deals than online. Would you agree, RJ?
Yeah, you gotta invest in your business. There's no business out there that you can not put any like investment in to make money, y'all. And look, if you're trying to do this real estate thing and your active income, meaning your job or you're doing this wholesaling thing, isn't where it needs to get to, okay, well, shoestring it until you can get to the point where you can invest at least 6 months into this, because you're going to make a lot of money with inbound leads, just hands down. So, Brandon, I know you're back.
Brandon is back. We are getting ready to put a bow on this thing. And really what we were saying is, look, man, you got to pay to play. There is no better way. And you're talking to two people who are in the trenches every single day. We're closing sellers over the phone, okay? We do multiple marketing streams, right? We do Facebook. We do PPC, getting ready to ramp up direct mail, or we do a little small amount of direct mail. And we're getting ready to ramp up some cold calling just to keep some lead flow coming in. But there is no better ROI than PPC online leads. And you got to have a pro do this for you. If you think you're going to learn it yourself, like, okay, I'm going to, sit down. That is not the best use of your time. The best use of your time is revenue generating activities, which is #1, talking to sellers, making offers, right? #2, raising private money so you can start taking some of these things down. If you're not wholesaling, you got to learn to start taking these things down. This is what RJ and I are preaching. If you're going to build real wealth in real estate, eventually you got to learn to own real estate. You can't just like be this wholesaler, flipper. You're going to get to the end of your career and you're going to wish you held on to some real estate. The only way to build real wealth in real estate is to hold on to assets, raise money. You got to understand the financing piece. It's going to come from hard money lenders. It's going to come from private lenders. It's going to come from permanent financing, putting these 30-year mortgages in place, understanding the refis, understanding. That's the real wealth, right? You got to understand that's what you should be doing. Put your time into that, the financing, the offers, the talking to sellers. Outsource your lead generation. You don't have to sit here and, if I'm telling you, RJ and I have coached people. They're sitting here tinkering around with the damn CRM for the first 6 months in business, and they haven't even talked to anyone. It's like this weird thing that people do to prevent themselves because there's fear and they're afraid of the real work. They're afraid to have the tough conversations with the sellers. They're afraid to have the tough conversations and understand the money side of it, and they're blocking the money from them. Outsource the lead generation, work with an honest guy. You got one right here in front of you. Bateman Collective. They're good. That's all you need to know. It's like, like the guys know what they're talking about. You got to pay to play. Do they work for free? No. But is this an ROI-based business? Yes. Let them help you determine what your ROI is on your investment. Make an investment into Brandon's company, let them do their thing, and then track your return on investment while you're doing the work, which makes you money, which is talking to sellers. So we're a big believer in what you do, man. And, we got your website here, batemancollective.com/toolkit. It's only for serious people who are in this business. If you're a cash grab kind of person, if you're just here today, gone tomorrow, your toe in the water, don't do it. You're not going to be a good client for Bateman Collective. But if you're serious about making a lot of money in this business, get online, baby. Get the PPC rolling. Work with a pro. So with that being said, what final thoughts do you got here for us, Brandon?
Yeah, I'm just grateful for the opportunity. I would say if you aren't sure like where to go next, it's always helpful to just talk to an expert that like understands more about your market. We can only say so much in terms of like generalities here, right?
Yeah.
But that's where the real value comes in. Like start talking to an expert and get an idea of what it looks like. And I will echo what you said, Dave. It's certainly not for everybody. Like inbound marketing as a whole is expensive, but why do people do it?
Because they see results. Yeah.
Like at the end of the day,
if you invest 10 to 15K into this, but you're making, a 5X return, what is that? 50, 60K? I think I'll sign up for that. Come on.
sure.
Anywho, BatemanCollective.com/toolkit. It's been a pleasure, Brandon. Good to see you. You want to hang out here after we end the stream? If you guys are looking to connect with Dave and I, follow us on our socials. You can certainly, if you're interested in getting the help that you need to convert more of your seller leads to build a rental portfolio, connect with us. You can hop on a call with the team. You can check us out next Wednesday. We're looking to add another day during the week where we can get some more guests. We're going to be inviting our students, our successful students, and we're going to be doing some case studies with them. So that being said, y'all,
I got good news and bad news.
Yeah, take us home, Dave.
Bad news for you. You ready for this, Brandon?
I'm ready.
The bad news is that time flies. The good news is that you're the pilot. You are in control of your life. You are in control of your time. You are in control of how you are going to invest your time. Invest your time with us. We're here to provide value, exchange value. Let us know any questions that you have in the comments. And Mr. Bateman, thank you very much for being a part of this exchange of value. Everybody else, we will see you next Wednesday, 11/11. And we will talk to you then.